face it, everybody, 2020 has been an awful year, and it's not over just yet. I think that for many people, for pretty much everyone in fact, it has been a challenge, and life has been challenged and changed in many ways, which I think a lot of us couldn't have even imagined a number of months ago. However, fortunately, during these difficult times, good things do happen, and I think that especially within the first lockdown that happened in the early half of 2020, for a good number of weeks, a lot of people came together and decided to do something good to get people through the hard times. Of course, during lockdown, over social media, there was a series of watch-alongs to select Doctor Who stories, and basically within that, a lot of people who've contributed to Doctor Who would deliver some exclusive content, the likes of short stories, additional scenes, bits of script that we've never seen before, in order to give a little bit of fun and additional reference to some of the episodes that we have been watching along to over the past few months, and generally suspending what is currently going on in the world around us and giving a little bit of joy. And what I really like for children in need is that Doctor Who and Penguin Books have decided to publish this, which is Doctor Who Adventures in Lockdown. And basically, it's an anthology piece. It collects together all of those little bits of content that have been released across social media and puts them into a little book. So for the first time during these book reviews, and probably what is in fact quite a rarity for Doctor Who books, is that the vast majority of this book you can read online for free. You've no doubt read the vast majority of this book already over the past few months. However, this book has been released in aid of children in need. I do believe the recommended retail is around £8. The vast majority of retailers are currently stocking it for around £6. However, it is a lovely collection of stories and little adventures nicely presented within the book format. And not gonna lie, I was quite busy when the initial watch-alongs started to occur, because from what I can remember, it was during my university exam season where I needed to carry out my exams online. And it was not the best. It was definitely a very difficult time with lots of stress, and as a result I didn't really get to experience a lot of these little extracts first time round. And it was really lovely to be able to read this book and flick through these different things that have been released over the past few months, but more importantly, celebrate the dedication and creativity to the many people that have contributed to the Doctor Who universe. If you've been watching along to the lockdown stories, or if you've been simply enjoying the content that has been released over the past few months, this is most certainly a book that is worth purchasing, as well as contributing to a good cause indeed. I'll leave the link in the description below. It's available from, I do believe, the vast majority of retailers online that usually stock Doctor Who books. No doubt Waterstones, I know that Amazon are currently stocking it as well, and no doubt a number of other retailers as well. And since it's coming up to Christmas, this is a rather nice small book, which is certainly very good to be a stocking filler. Overall, the design of the book itself is considerably simplistic, yet effective. At the very top we get the inclusion of the Doctor Who logo, as well as Adventures in Lockdown in a thin white font. Along the sides of this, you do of course get all the writers that have contributed to this book. A lot of them are well known within the Doctor Who universe, including stories from Chris Chibnall, Paul Cornell, Russell T Davies, Neil Gaiman, Mark Gatiss, Peter McTighe, Stephen Moffat, Vinay Patel and Joy Wilkinson. In the very centre of the cover we get a really lovely illustration of the 13th Doctor, almost looking like a watercolour design. I absolutely love the use of colour coming up around the hood here, almost making it look like the rainbow within the jumper itself is reflecting on the rest of her costume. A really lovely likeness to Jodie Whittaker. I also like the way that she's wielding the sonic screwdriver as well. At the very bottom we get the inclusion of a little sticker, or at least it looks like a sticker. It is actually printed onto the cover. It states that it is in aid of children in need, with a percentage of the recommended retail price going to charity once you purchase the book. And then of course as we turn up to the top we get a lovely light blue background with of course a darker blue as we fade into the top. And then as we flip around to the back of the book we get the continuation of this rather lovely simplistic design using a series of different shades of blue, as well as a quote from the 13th Doctor, which I do believe is taken from the first short story within this anthology. Along the side, much like how we had on the front cover, the list of all the writers that have contributed to this book, on the back we get all the contributions of artwork, a lot of which have came from well-known Doctor Who illustrators who have of course contributed to Doctor Who over the years. The likes of Sophie Chowdhury, who does of course contribute the cover art for this book itself, as well as the steelbooks from the new series Doctor Who range, as well as of course Lee Binding, who is responsible for the stunning cover art on the complete classic season box sets, as well as many other Doctor Who illustrations. Also featured is Mike Collins, Sonia Leong, Valentina Mozzo, Chris Riddle, Adrian Solman, David Wardle and Richard Wells. As we open up the book, just as an example, here is the text alongside one of the 13th Doctor illustrations. What I really do like is that the font is in fact rather bold and large, making it very easy to read and accessible for many different types of people, including the younger audiences, but also the older audience as well. If you are an older audience member, you'll no doubt be able to get through this book rather quickly. It's almost formatted like a quick read, and it is also rather comfortable for people with dyslexia to read as well, because I do indeed have dyslexia, and this is a rather satisfying font indeed. Briefly taking a look at some of the other illustrations, one of my personal favourites is this one from the Time War story, featuring the 8th Doctor, and of course Rassilon and a Dalek. I do believe that is the one by Lee Binding, and also as another mention, here's one as the 13th Doctor, almost a comic design with a few chess pieces in the background, and one final piece, because I'm feeling generous, I'm hoping this is the one that I intend it to be, but we finish off with a rather lovely illustration of the 10th Doctor and Novice Hame from the final full story of this book. There is of course a number of other ones, however I'm going to keep that for you to find out yourself if you decide to purchase this book. It is in fact rather small, as you can see. It's very nice to hold in the hand, making it good for travelling if you are travelling about at the minute, which most likely you probably won't be, hence the reason why this book exists. But yes, overall, lovely presentation and a nice quality piece to add to your Doctor Who bookshelf. So now turning to the actual stories themselves, or little extracts, or mini adventures, whatever you want to call them. I'm not going to go through each individual one, I'm simply going to talk through some of my highlights of what I really enjoyed. And in fact I'm going to start off at the very end of the book, as we have a story called The Secret of Novice Hame, as written by Russell T Davies. And personally, I really loved Novice Hame as a character back when Doctor Who aired Series 2 and Series 3, and there was something about New Earth as a whole that I really did love. I really loved this whole idea of a colony of humans in the future with animals that have developed over time. I thought it was a great concept, and of course The Secret of Novice Hame basically deals with the character in her final moments. It's an expansion of the end of time, of course, when the 10th Doctor decides to go around and meet various people that have contributed to his era, and this is a lovely complement to that, as we get to see him seeing Novice and basically talking to her about her life and the many different things that she has done. And it is also a lovely commentary on death as well, and passing to another realm, I suppose, as we have the whole concept of the Cat Kingdom and basically the sun going down in the evening and the whole celebration of catkind and the different animals surrounding her. It's very nice, it's very child's book essentially. It kind of reminded me a bit like The Lion King, with all of these different animals coming together, but it's a lovely way to end off the book, and is in fact probably my favourite story of the entirety of this release. We also have some really lovely contributions to that of the 13th Doctor era as well. I'm not really going to go through all of the stories, but there's many different small adventures with the fam seeing different things that are personally important to them. For example, we have an adventure seeing Graham going back in time and basically seeing the origins of his favourite football team. And we also have a few interactions with the Doctor being sat within the TARDIS and basically not having anything to do because the fam have gone away for a bit and she's been left alone, and as a result she's feeling very isolated, and she decides to have a little fiddle with the TARDIS, and it turns out that Susan has left the equivalent of a voice message for her in a little box of memories, and basically it's called Press Play. It's written by Pete McTighe, and basically it's the equivalent of Doctor Who does Behind the Sofa, however within the Doctor Who universe, and the Doctor reliving some past adventures. I know that generally in the canon of Doctor Who people would see that as a little bit of fan service and generally something that's a bit unnecessary, but I think that that is what this book is about. I think that there's some serious stories in there, but there's also a few celebrations, almost a little bit fourth wall breaking in a way. It kind of just celebrates the happiness that Doctor Who has brought to people, but also the strength of the characters as well have brought these people together. A rather lovely hidden surprise within this book is that we have a number of contributions from Russell T Davies. I really love the way that they've been formatted throughout this book, because we have The Revenge of the Nestine, which is basically a continuation of the Target novelisation of Rose that was released a number of years ago, and it is even formatted like a Target novel, where the pages have kind of been shrunk down to look like a Target book, and even at the beginning of the story, I believe it states chapter 21 to kind of link in to the chapters within the Rose Target novelisation. And we also get a rather lovely piece that talks about the final days of the 8th Doctor, and basically it was a thing that apparently was created for the 50th anniversary, and again it was something that never came to light due to the events of the Night of the Doctor. A hidden thing, an alternative timeline of what quite possibly could have become the final moments of the 8th Doctor. And it's interesting as well, given the fact that the context of this story is within the Time War, an event itself that has lots of different conclusions and lots of different events going on, and yes, it is quite plausible that this could have been an end for the 8th Doctor, however not the one we know, an alternative ending. Again, it's a lovely hidden gem that you kind of feel like it shouldn't exist, however it does within this book, and as a result it does kind of feel like a little treasure trove of additional little moments and things that you didn't quite know about, however it adds additional context overall to the Doctor Who universe. Things that she thought was falling, as well as Terror of the Umpty-Ums, as written by Chris Chibnall and Stephen Moffat, are a really lovely way to introduce this book with adventures with the 13th Doctor. Of course, as it's suggested within the title, the first one basically covers the very first moments of the 13th Doctor whilst she's falling through space, and it kind of reminds me, in fact, of the moments within the 6th Doctor Last Adventure, where we have, due to it being an audio drama, kind of the mental variation of regeneration and how the mind can change into that new personality as opposed to the visual thing that we are used to seeing as viewers. And that's something that I really did love about The Last Adventure, because it dealt with the mental aspect, something of which that you can't particularly see play out on screen. I really love the way that this narrative focuses solely on the Doctor as an entity almost in itself, as opposed to the different incarnations. This is the different Doctors talking to this version of the Doctor. However, the different versions are kind of not differentiated. There's a few suggestions in there almost to the 12th Doctor still being inside her mind mentally, not letting go almost, and then of course she falls, and from there onwards we see the events unfold of the woman who fell to Earth, and I thought that was a really lovely touch. And likewise as well for the Terror of the Umpty-Ums, it's a great story that basically symbolises an interaction between the Doctor and essentially a child that could be a fan of the show. Again, it's a little bit fourth wall breaking, acknowledges the difficult times that we are kind of currently living in. I think that the whole idea, in fact at the back of this book, it has this rather lovely quote which starts off the book overall. It says, "Remember, you will get through this and things will be alright, even if they look uncertain, even if you're worried, darkness never prevails." There's some hope with this book, and I love to think that possibly a younger Doctor Who fan will get this for Christmas and read it, and then as a result kind of feel uplifted, because regardless of if a younger child doesn't fully understand the context of the difficult world scenario that we are living in, that they don't understand the statistics of the pandemic and they don't understand what is actually going on, this book offers reassurance, and it kind of portrays that reassurance through a character that they no doubt look up to and aspire to kind of be. I think that that is important. That is what Doctor Who is about, and it is about delivering messages in a way that is understandable to the younger audiences, but also I'm not a younger fan. Of course, I am now an adult, and even then I still got something from this book. I found it enjoyable, I found it a nice suspension of reality, but also a nice contribution to some of the stories that have existed within the Doctor Who canon for many, many years already. There's still little mysteries yet to be uncovered, and little gems like this will continue to be created as we get more new series Target novelisations, and as stories can be developed into the novel format for a new audience. And with that, that does of course conclude my review of the Doctor Who book release Adventures in Lockdown, of course a series of short anthology stories released in aid of children in need. Of course a percentage of the recommended retail price does in fact go to the Children in Need charity, meaning that you are spending money on a good cause, and you're also getting some Doctor Who adventures on top of that as well. So what is not to like? Of course, especially we are currently heading up to Christmas at the minute, so of course if you want to purchase this book now, then definitely go away and do so, or maybe even add it to your Christmas list, because it is a lovely stocking filler, and as I say, a really small read that you can probably get through within a day or two. So thank you very much for watching this review. I hope you have enjoyed it. Do of course stay tuned on The Host Productions for brand new Doctor Who content each and every week. Of course, on that note, I shall see you all next time. Have a nice day, stay safe, and bye for now.